is designed to... Oh, that'll be interesting, actually. Hello, everyone. In the last video with the underwater exploration and diving bell test, we were noticing that the battery was draining severely on the Allegory class vessel that includes the Albatros and the Airdrie. So the battery was draining, and I assumed that it was the that we connected a low submarine that wasn't fully charged. But later on, I realized what it was the position hold. So I'll give you a quick demonstration of how this can drain your batteries so fast. So say we come here and we turn on our position hold. So that's fine if it's not too windy. And if we look at our battery level, it's going down slowly because the whole vessel's on, but if we turn on the generator, the generator starts to counter it slowly. So, I mean, it's still losing a bit of battery power, but not too much. And that's because these guys are spinning. If we turn it off fully, like right now, we just have the generator running. We're gaining battery. Yeah, there we go. But this position hold instantly starts to drain your battery, especially if it's bad weather. Like, watch this. If we turn up the wind. First of all, we're going to flip, most likely, because I turned it so high. But look, so these things are pushing and straining to prevent the vessel from moving away. And watch our battery. It is flying down. So of course, in that video, we came up in the first time the battery was at 60%, and the second time it was at like 30 something, and that's because of this. So the propeller system that I have here is designed to... Oh, that'll be interesting, actually. Let's try that. Alright, let's see if we survive this. That was not planned for, but I'll take it. We're just underneath it. Now we're gonna pop out. Let's restart the engine. Beautiful. That worked, actually. Nice. So that automatic stability control is like awesome. I'm really happy with how I designed that. Anyway, the battery is now 90% because we turned off the automatic stabilization, but if we turn it back on, this is going to drain like crazy. So let's see what we can do to fix the stability, or sorry, fix the battery from draining like crazy. And the way we're going to do it is the way I do it in my other vessels, which includes the smaller AB Marine vessels. We actually have a bypass for the generator to enable a generator mode, and that way the main engines are used as a generator when the battery gets too low. So let's try that with the Allegory class of vessel. So here we are with the RSV Allegory, and the first thing worth noting is currently we have this little generator here. It's only a single V8 engine with a couple of generators on top. So this is fine in certain applications, but what we want to do is make these engines have a generator mode. So we have a lot of space here. So what we'll do is we'll add a generator for each engine back here, the physical generator. And then we're going to look at changing the microcontrollers. So we have these microcontrollers here that I created for the engines, and we'll figure out a way to tie in the throttle to work. When there's no throttle, the generators are still going to throttle up, just there will be no power going to the propeller or water jet in this case. So for this, we'll physically first set up our platform for the generator by putting this one on top like this, and then we're gonna add the pipe. So we have enough access now that we can have sort of a system going up. So we'll have the clutch. Maybe first we're gonna go out and then up. Then we'll put the clutch. That may be clunky because I want to put a big generator, or the medium generator. So this would work right now as it is, except we also need a gear box, but we'll put that here. So this actually works. So here we have it. All of them are identical. And we'll put the big or medium generator up here. We'll tie it in with our battery. Now the reason this thing runs out of battery so fast, the other ships do okay when you leave it on this stabilization mode, but we only have 4 medium batteries. So this vessel isn't really intended for heavy electrical usage. But anyway, we've tied this in. And then we're going to tie in our clutch and gearbox into what we call our critical systems. I guess we could also put it under our generator too. Generator power. Generator backup. Oh, that's clearly not attached to anything, which is interesting. All these go down right to there. Okay, that's fine. So we'll have this generator power be where we connect our gearboxes and clutch. So the system's quite simple. When it's not on generator mode, the power from the engine will be directly put into this big gearbox, and it goes to the rear of the ship to the propeller or the water jet. Whereas, and it goes through these 5 generators. However, when we turn on generator mode, power will also flow through here, and it'll go into the gearbox, or yeah, into the generator. Sorry, through the gearbox, clutch, and generator. It'll obviously reduce the speed because now we're diverting our engine into something else, but that'll only be used under instances where we require more batteries. So in a case where we've lost enough batteries and we need it to recharge. So we'll go edit our clutch microcontroller, and the way this is set up is it uses, so it will first rename this into V8 water jet engine with gen. So that is the with our generator mode. We're going to rename the clutch output to the drive clutch, and then of course we have to add a couple things. So we'll add generator clutch, and that's going to be a number output. We're going to add a battery in, so when the battery gets to a certain level, it'll turn on the generator. And then, in addition to these 2 things, we will add a couple others, but first, let's take a look here. So these will be branched off on its own little path up there. And we'll want to add a couple of other items like we said, so we're going to increase the size of this. We have to add our throttle out because right now we only have a throttle input. We'll have to add a throttle output. which will go to the engines. And then depending on whether we're giving it throttle or it's just throttling the generator mode. So that's there. And then we'll add a couple other things here. We'll add a simple generator override start. And we're gonna add a generator disable. And we're gonna add a generator mode active, which will start the vessel automatically on our other microcontroller for the engine start. So if the ship is turned off and our batteries dip, the motors will actually kick on automatically. Now that's why we have a disable. It'll let us turn that mode off if we don't want to waste gas or whatever. But if it sees that the batteries are being wasted heavily, it will start the motors and engines by themselves, which is really nice. You can leave it and not have to worry about that. So we drag all that stuff up here. We'll arrange it as such. And put that here. So the battery, we're gonna first have this. If the battery is less than a certain number that we've decided, we'll make it a property slider. So battery level generator, or rather battery level to activate generator. Minimum value would be, I mean, if it's 0, we're kind of screwed, so we'll say 0.1. Max values, obviously, make it 0.9 because it doesn't make any sense to have it start immediately. So we'll let it go down to something, and we'll actually make it start when it's at 0.8. So if it goes to 80%, that's when this will be active. So when our battery is less than 0.8, then we need the generator clutch to go to 1. So constant number 1 when it's on. When it's off, we want it to stay 0, which is fine. So we don't want it to be using our generators. So that's the first bit. The second bit is now tying in our start overrides. So here we have it, that this path happened and it flipped this switch, or if the generator start button is pressed, so if either the battery's low or the button's pressed, we're gonna turn on our generator clutch. But now we also need and not generator disable. So if the generator is disabled, then this doesn't happen. But if the generator is not disabled, then this path goes through. So this is looking good, this part up here. Now we'll have to tie it in with the rest of our microcontroller down here. But what we need to know is that this here, generator active, is this. So this we could put to an indicator or whatever, and it tells us that generator mode is in fact on. But we're going to use it to start our ship automatically. So the last thing we have to touch on here is the throttle out. So the way that this is going to work is we're putting a throttle in, and that throttle is only used to dictate whether or not we want the drive generator to stop. So if we don't, but I mean, that doesn't matter to us. This path was a dead path. It just did that one thing, but now we're actually going to make it be a live path. So the easiest way to do that is with a simple plus button. So in this case, it goes up here, but we will leave this one down here to be individual because we don't want the throttle of the generator increasing when we want just generator mode on, if that makes sense. We don't want the generator mode throttle, giving our ship physical power to the propellers. That's better. So we're going to leave that path here. That does its thing, whatever. But up here, we have to now add something. So when we've added our when we're put onto generator mode, we're going to put a switch box here. So when the generator mode is on, now we're going to add ourselves another property slider here. So when the generator mode is on, this is going to be generator mode throttle. So remember, this isn't giving the ship throttle to move. This is just throttling up our generator. Now 0.9 is way too high. It's going to start going into it's going to be redlining. So we'll leave it at 0.5 is the max, and we're actually going to try with 0.2. Let's give 0.2 a shot. So generator mode throttle is 0.2, and that is now getting added to this. Of course, this throttle would be 0 technically coming from our seat. So keep that in mind. This would be 0, and this one here would be now 0.2. That goes into the engine throttle. So we'll save this. We'll also adjust our little picture. I always like to draw this. There we go. Save that. Okay, so that's looking good now. And one other thing worth noting is if we do give it power while we're in generator mode, we're still going to end up moving. That's why we didn't put a numerical switch box here. I don't want it to be only generator mode or drive mode. I want the generator mode to still work when we're in the drive mode, and vice versa. So there we have it. We'll load that up here, and then we're going to give this to all 3 of these engines. This last one we have to bounce it out of the wall, and then add that microcontroller, and then we'll put it back in place. There we go. In here, it's looking a bit messy, but that's fine. There we go. So now with these new nodes, we'll have to add something here. So above this, I believe all these are just regular empty blocks. Nothing is beneath them. Beautiful. So we take this, and we're going to add a bunch of keys. These keys are going to be, so this very left one is engine 1. So in this case here we have engine 1 generator mode override, start override. Okay, and then we'll put this guy to be generator 2, or engine 2, sorry, and then here will be engine 3. And that's the first bit. Now the second one will be engine 1 generator mode disable. So that still overrides whether or not we end up going into generator mode. We're going to call this 2, and this one is engine 3 generator mode disable. Now what I'll likely do is, just to conserve battery, these 2 will automatically be off when I make the vessel, or automatically be disabled. We only need one of them really to be working as a generator. I think 3 of them is overkill, but I do want to give all 3 of them the capability to do it, just in case of emergencies. So now we have this generator power, and this is where we're going to attach these guys. Because we may as well, we have 3 engines, we may as well get 3 generators out of it. Now this kind of weight may be a little excess on the, it's not too close to the rear, so I think it'll be fine. And then let's connect our nodes. So in this case, this is all connected. Now here we have generator clutch. and that's right here. And then this one is generator clutch, and this guy, generator clutch. We'll deal with throttle out in a second. Battery. So our main battery that seems to be getting all the nodes on it is right here. So we'll connect the battery to that. And then we'll have our start override. So this is engine 3 here. So we're going to have the start override. So engine 3 start override. And then engine 3 generator disable. Then this one here, disable. And here we have start override. And then here. Start override. Okay. So now the last thing we have is the throttle. We're going to leave this one empty for now, but we have our throttle out. So what we'll do is this. We know this one's our throttle input from here, and we know our engine is actually getting fed power from here. So what we'll see is this one is right there. So it's the numerical switch. So that, I believe, is also going into our microcontroller here. So that's the same guy as our throttle in. So in that case, we just have to put throttle out to be going right to the motor. Throttle out, and lastly throttle out. Now this should all work. Let's give it a shot. Obviously it won't auto start, so we'll have to start the engines. And when the engines are started, then we can start turning on this generator mode. We'll start with the override. Drop into the engine room here. Okay, so we override. Alright, they're all started up. And here we look, they're working. They have 10% throttle right now. That's just our idle throttle. And if I start turning this on, this one goes, this one, and this one. So it works. Obviously, we have to fine-tune our gearbox, but we're getting power, and then if we press this, all these should start to turn down, because now that clutch is no longer activated, and that the throttle is no longer, whereas if we turn this off, sorry, we have throttle of 3. So really it adds and compounds. We have an idle of 10, and now a total of 3. Or sorry, an idle of 0.1, and now because of that we've added 0.2, and now we're looking at a 0.3 throttle. So first things first, let's increase the resistance on our gearbox. We'll see if we have to rotate those. I don't like to keep track of which way they face. Anyway, that seems to be okay. So now up front here on the vessel, we have our microcontroller for the start and stop. So if we go into this, we have space, which is nice. But pretty much, if the reason why we have this auto start, so the key input will start the vessel, or if we summon the vessel with an autopilot, which I have, the autopilot summon mechanism. So all we have to do, very simple, we just add a node right here for the generator start, and it'll just go down here, and we'll add it as an OR function. I already created that one earlier, or I thought I did, guess I didn't, so we'll easily do that right now. So we just have generator start, put it there, and then down here with these guys, we're just gonna say OR, and then feed it to this and this. Now that's gonna make the generator mode start our engine. So that works as well. One thing we did add is we changed it if the key's on, or if we're summoned, or if it's generator, then switch this to throttle out, and we could upload it now, and then here we'll pull the generator start. Now because we have 3 of these things, we need to put a OR box or OR microcontroller, and we have a 3 input OR that I created earlier. So whether this is on or this is on or this, put this here as generator start. So let's save that and start it up and see what happens. So we changed the gearing as well as we gave it the ability to start by itself. So now if we turn this key, technically the engine should start up and it should be giving us a throttle of 0.3. However, now we just started all of them, so that's not good. But we are giving this one 3, these ones 1 and 1. Now the RPS is a little more under control now, it's not redlining, but we don't want all of them starting with that. And I think I know why that's happening. Well, actually I for sure know why that's happening. It's happening because right now, that button, one of these buttons, or all 3 of them, goes and starts the thing. And it starts all the engines. Now that's actually only happening in the activate generator mode. So what I'm gonna do is only the middle generator will be started automatically right off the bat. So I put that here, and then the others won't be started with that. So only if the middle one's activated, then start that up. Whereas these guys are just going to remain off. Now if the motors are on, that's a different story. And that actually may be optimized perfectly. Because like I said, I didn't want everything to start full blast if we're just sitting there off. I mean, if we left the vessel and forgot about it, so technically this one won't start it, and this one won't start it, but this one will start the middle engine. Okay, now it starts all 3. Oh. No, it still starts, and now they're at 0. But what we do need is if we manually started the vessel. So let's give it. So now we're just in idle mode. Now this one actually works, and this one's still off. Interesting. So the diagnostics in this, but they're all on because we turned them all on. And now they're all going to be turning off. So they're all off now. But this guy still turns on all 3 of them. And that's because it's putting that microcontroller forces everything on. These just work at a different RPS. So that may be okay actually to leave, because if I go back here, this one's making 150, these are making like barely any. I just don't like that these are still on. Oh, these are making none because this clutch is closed. No, so we have to do something. It seems that this solution will not work. And that's the nice thing about trial and error. And that's what most of this is, just exploring options until something works nicely. Now the obvious thing would be just to make 3 of these microcontrollers, but the issue with that is we'd have to have 3 of everything, including 3 autopilots, 3, like we'd need a path for everything, because the one throttle out wouldn't be enough. So the stabilizers, we'd have to have 3 of them, and all that stuff, and I don't want to go through with that. And it just doesn't make any sense. That's gonna make the thing so laggy and big. So it seems that the obvious path then is to not have this here, but rather just have one single generator mode rather than 3 generator modes going to the control panel here, which was my first idea. I just thought it would be nice to have multiple options, but here, well, that'll be a quick fix. So pretty much in this case we just scrap these buttons, and then we say here just generator main engine generator mode start, and main engine generator mode disable, and these buttons now, so this is the start and it goes to all of them. So it goes to start and it goes to start, and then the disable, which is here, disable and disable. So that's pretty much the quick fix for that. In this case they're all going to be treated identically, and now what we need to do is make sure that this on mode goes to that, which we already did. So sometimes for the sake of functionality, now there are different ways. I mean, I could have it so that if the other motors or other engines are off, there's like a kill switch that just doesn't let them start, but none of that is too clean. So right now that starts all 3 of them, and it gives it a 0.3, and this will charge batteries like crazy, because if I recall here it's going to be like, yeah, 150. So let's give it a test now, assuming there was no batteries. So let's drain our batteries here. So we'll drain it like substantially. Now it's going to start on right away. There we go. So they've all started automatically. You can see here they're 0.3. And we can run up to our control room or the bridge. It's going to be charging fast, because they're small batteries. Like, that's pretty quick. And once we hit, and the best part is we can start our engines and still control the boat. Now our power is a little reduced. We're making around 34 knots versus normally we're getting around 40 like here. And the nice thing is once this hits 100%, the generators are going to turn off. They may have already turned off. We've hit 80, so I guess they've shut off. And we're gaining full speed. So that works. Yes, actually that's exactly it. If it dips below 80%, they turn on, and once it gets higher than 80%, it turns back. So see how we're climbing slower now, because now we only have our little auxiliary generator charging us, and we have our main alternators. So if we stop, it's still climbing, which is nice. So the little generators are keeping up. But if we turned off our main engine, that means the alternators are no longer working. So now it's just our little engine. And like I showed you, if we turn on the position hold and turn up the stormy conditions, this is going to start draining so fast. So it's already going down. Now let's start up our generator mode. See here, the battery is already climbing, so we're almost at 90. So it seems this is a good way to kind of save the vessel from draining like we saw, and then it'll just be tough to recover. Once that kind of happens, you're in trouble. You have to drive to use the alternators, whereas in this case it seems to correct itself automatically. So thank you again for watching. I hope you guys learned something. This update will go into all of the Allegory class vessels, which includes the Airdrie and the Altraz, and I may implement it in some of my other future creations. The Avala and the bigger Almeria, I probably won't do it for them just because they have dedicated generators that are medium-sized engines, but just because this one is kind of a special configuration, I think that it works perfectly for this one. So thank you for watching and stay tuned for more.